Yeah, this is from the Troye Sivan album that I got from EMI in Australia. I know I like it because it looks kind of more arty than
just a plaque.
Because that kind of makes me feel a little bit weird.
You can sort of hide that it's a success marker.
A little bit, yeah.
At just 24 years old, Alex Hope has transitioned a love of music into a career working with artists like Troye Sivan, Tove Lo, and Years as a songwriter and producer. From Sia to Kesha Lee to Laura Sisk, there are women occupying these behind-the-board roles in the music industry, but they are way outnumbered by the men in those spaces. Still, that hasn't stopped Alex from doing 2 of those jobs at once for some of the most exciting names in music changing the shape of pop. She invited me over to her home studio in LA to see her process in action.
What is like the typical day-to-day for you? Like,
it depends. So normally I'll have a session at, say, midday or 1. So I can get up kind of late.
Yeah.
So
well,
I
also
do.
Your studio's in your house.
Exactly. So all I need to do is like put on pants and walk downstairs. So I'll get up at kind of 9 or 10 and then drink a lot of coffee, try and do emails. And then I'll kind of go down to the studio and start messing around with some ideas for whatever I have for the artist that I'm working with that day. And then the artist or the writer or both will kind of show up and then we talk about stuff. Yeah. And then we see what we want to write about and then we do it.
It sounds simple enough when Alex says it like that, but songwriting can require a lot of emotional labor and be intensely vulnerable for all parties involved, especially for the raw, relatable songs that come out of Alex's sessions. Her songwriting style was born from admiring the confessional singer-songwriters that her parents played around the house in Australia, like Van Morrison and Bob Dylan, and further evolved as she discovered more music on her own growing up.
I went through different musical stages, and then I kind of went through my like band phase where I was like Blink-182 and all that stuff. And then I was like very obsessed with kind of Jason Mraz, Sarah Bareilles, Ed Sheeran kind of era. Yeah, so it was kind of all over the place. Like my parents didn't really have like a genre or an artist that they kind of just had a bunch of random stuff.
Sure.
We would just.
But those do all strike me as like very song based.
Yeah, I like the song. Like I remember when 19, like Adele's album 19 came out, and I was like, holy crap, this is like wicked. So I think, yeah, it was always kind of artists that were very heavily involved in the writing process. You know, I was still in Australia when Sia kind of started writing over here and had a bunch of hits. So all those people were super inspiring. It just made me think like, oh cool, I can try and do that too.
Would you say that like seeing Sia come up as a known songwriter was a big breaking point for you?
Totally. Because I mean, I listened to her for years as an artist back in Australia, you know, her own records. And so then, seeing her, you know, writing Diamonds for Rihanna or something was just, I thought was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. A study of the 600 most popular songs released in the last 6 years revealed that men make up the lion's share of songwriting credits, making for a ratio of about 7 male songwriters for every 1 female songwriter. For producers, the ratio looks more like 49 male producers for every 1 female producer. Alex occupies the rare space of both songwriter and producer because producing helps her protect the integrity of the song. She typically hosts writing sessions in her home studio, which is decked out with instruments, novelty light fixtures, and a few commemorative plaques that she usually keeps hidden but reluctantly took out for us.
I don't know, I buy stupid things and like these little vintage Casio keyboards. My parents started buying random percussion instruments for me for Christmas from random places that they went.
Have you used any of these in recording sessions?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was a bit later into the synth game. I started on guitar, and so that was definitely my, like, guitar and bass were my kind of comfort zones. Mm-hmm. But after working on the Troye stuff and kind of getting more into synths, I've definitely started a small collection. Okay, so it's got all different... Just all different presets. Mm-hmm. It's called Mountain. This is my favorite preset.
So when an artist comes in here for a songwriting session, how does that usually start? What's your process like?
We'll normally chat for a bit, kind of normally ask what's going on with them, or if they have something they want to write about in particular, a concept or just a feeling, or if they're going through something. I like kind of working with the artist. I don't like having too much prepared before because I feel like sometimes then they might feel obliged to work on that idea because like, oh, you spent time making it. And I'm like, no, I want you to be, I'm here to kind of accommodate your project and your art. I think that's why I feel like I end up using a lot of artists' demo vocals that they sung on the day of writing the song. We end up keeping those because even if we go and try and re-vocal it, it's like they were very much in that moment and you can hear it in their voice and they were kind of, had been living that thing that they were writing about. And it just sounds more authentic than when they try and go in and it's almost like they know it too well and they're not in that moment anymore.
What are some of the fastest songs that you've worked on? Like the ones that came together the fastest?
I mean, some of the Troye stuff was, like when we wrote a song called Fools, we'd spent the whole day working on this idea that just wasn't good for like 8 hours and we're like, this is terrible. Why are we still trying to crack this thing that's not good? But sometimes I feel like you need to go through the kind of not so great idea and like bang your head against the wall. And then when you start something fresh, it's like, phew, and then it just comes really quickly.
The kind of songwriting people go to Alex for is personal and specific. And her unique ability to excavate people's feelings for public consumption has helped create powerful songs like Heaven, which revisits Troye Sivan's struggle with coming out as gay. Watching her work with other artists like Daya and Amy Allen, who are here for today's session, it's clear that Alex has a great ear, but what puts her over the edge as a songwriter is her empathy and flexibility.
Hey! How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, good to see you.
Why do you like working with Alex?
I feel like there's not a lot of female representation in this space, and besides the fact that Alex is wicked talented, I think it's just important to bring up other females and to collaborate, and I think we create some really, really cool things together, so it's exciting to work with her. Every time we work in the studio, it's something new and it's something exciting, and she's very open-minded, which I like with producers. I don't like when people are like, no, this is exactly what we're doing, because I like to explore and kind of find different sounds every day and just like, I don't know, I like to innovate, and I think that she's really good at that, and we always make something completely different than we made the last time. C, A minor, F, G. E minor, B minor.
You can pretend.
Somewhere in those chords.
The same 9 male songwriters are responsible for roughly 20% of the 600 most popular songs in the last 6 years. But as more young women see futures for themselves in the examples set by talented songwriters like Alex Hope, or Stara, or Julia Michaels, those demographics should shake up.
I mean, moving over here and kind of discovering that, you know, it wasn't just Australia that had a kind of female producer lack thereof, you know what I mean? Like that It was kind of a worldwide situation. But I mean, it's been funny because I guess because my name's Alex.
When you read it on a paper?
Yeah, like I've had people come to the studio and be like, is Alex here? And I was like, that's me.
Wow.
But
how do you handle that situation?
I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I'm like, cool. You know.
Surprise, you liked my work, and
Yeah,
guess what?
and I'm a lady.
Is it as stark as those numbers seem to suggest, though? Like,
I think so, yeah. I mean, I know there's probably thousands of incredibly talented female producers. Like, when I got into it at 16, I was kind of Googling, like, producers, and I was noticing, like, hey, a lot of these names are male. Like, all of these names are male. And so I think, yeah, there's just not...
They're just not seeing themselves.
They're not seeing it. And then I think a lot of young girls like, okay, cool, well, females normally take the kind of singer-artist role, so that should be what I do, you know, rather than be an engineer or be a producer or, you know. So I think, yeah, a lot of it is just if you don't see it.
Then you don't know you can be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is something that you wish that you had known as a young person before getting into the music business?
I think that it's possible to do it. I think for a while, like I was kind of doing it, but in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know if this is just a total pipe dream. I mean, I just love helping to get a story off somebody's chest kind of thing. Like, I love the therapeutic aspect, because then I feel like, it doesn't matter if it gets released or whatever, it was, it helped that person on that day. This is my favorite thing in the studio.
What is this?
Okay, so when I was, 6 or 7, my dad wrote Jerry Halliwell's autobiography from the Spice Girls. And so he was living with her in the UK at the time, and she would sign t-shirts and make bracelets and send them back to me in Australia. And I was a huge Spice Girls fan, so I would wear them. That's why they look like a little bit worn.
Because God, this little baby shirt in a little cargo pocket.
I know.
So, did she draw her?
Jerry drew herself.
Oh my God,
Very
this
interesting.
is amazing.
And then, when I got into music, my mum framed them and brought them over from Australia, and
This is incredible. Yeah, this one's very well loved.
Oh yeah, I wore that a lot. Well, I wanted to kind of show off at school, and I was telling,
why
I was
not?
like my dad's
With
friends
the
with the
autograph
Spice
on it?
Girls. Yeah, yeah. I was like, I'm tied with the Spice Girls.